Hey there, this is Veronica with Oh Happy Plants. Okay, I have one last question. So, once again, if you're just getting started on these videos, no matter where you're coming from, you are totally welcome to join us over at members.ohhappyplants.com. That is my tutorial site, and that's where I am going to put these videos in case you want to find them in the future and don't want to go digging through Instagram stories. All of these will be over there. Again, that's members.ohhappyplants.com, and it's totally free. You just pop in over there and create a little profile thing. You put in your information, and it's basically functions like Facebook. So then you can post, you can ask questions, you can comment on things, you can get in touch with other members if they post a plant, and even there's a sales section, though it hasn't taken off yet. Mostly it's just tutorials right now. So I'm trying really hard to put a fully comprehensive adaptive plant care website out there because it's seriously lacking. So much of the plant care community gives one answer as the right answer. And let me just tell you that your plant is in a different environment than the plant that they have in that video, and so it probably wants something different than their plant. And after having thousands of plants in hundreds of different locations, that's what you learn. Every single plant is different. A fiddle in one spot is going to be totally different, like almost like night and day to a fiddle in like a spot with different light or different heat or something like that. So you just have to really adapt your care to where you put the plant. And so that actually, my last question here, do plants acclimate to a home environment? That really ties in because your plants, yes, your plants will acclimate, but the plant acclimating is one piece of the puzzle. Plants are slow, so all of their little impulses, all of their little electrical impulses, they're I'm going to use the phrase thought processes because plants have some kind of awareness. Plants talk to each other. We're just learning how to figure this out. Humans are only just now learning that plants do this because we couldn't speak the language. And now we're starting to get more more refined science, more refined technology to kind of figure out how to measure the electrical impulses that pass between plants in the root system and just kind of how to measure how they communicate with each other. They will emit pheromones and chemicals and things like that to signal to other plants like way 2 miles away or something. They'll use the wind to signal to other plants that there's a giant beetle infestation coming their way or something like that. So plants are talking. They're talking to themselves, they're talking to other plants, and they do it really slowly. So that's the key, is if you think about, like, if it took me a fraction of a second to form a thought and get it out so that you could hear it, it takes plants like 100 times that long to do the same sort of thing, or 1,000 times that long, or 1,000,000 times that long in some cases. If I'm hungry, my stomach rumbles, I think, food sounds good, and then I go to the kitchen and make dinner. If a plant is hungry, it very slowly will get a yellow leaf, or, as a sign of a nitrogen deficiency, or it will just kind of slow its growth, and that's something that we don't see for a very long time. It might take us weeks or months before we see a plant and we think, oh, that hasn't put out a new leaf for ages. What the hell is going on? And like, oh, maybe it's nitrogen, maybe it's hungry. It just took 3 months for you to notice its little tummy growling. And so if you kind of keep that in mind when you think about acclimation, you're going to really notice that number one, your plants are talking to you. You just have to pay closer attention. So we have to quiet ourselves, and we have to just really watch our plants and look at them and say, oh, well, that's putting out a new leaf. So I should think about, like, despite the fact that it's late November, I should think about fertilizing that guy right now because he's got grow lights on him. So I need to pay attention to that. This one over here is dropping a couple of leaves. So I should think about either putting it in front of a grow light, or I should accept the fact that it's winter, and that's what this type of plant will do in the winter when it's not getting the signal of the sun or a grow light, artificial sun. If it's not getting that signal that, yes, it's time to stay alive and to grow, if it says, oh, hey, it's time to go dormant, then I need to pay attention to what it needs and not fertilize it. So as far as acclimation goes, it is more about us adjusting what we do for our plants than it is about the plant actually getting used to the space. Now, in the case of light, one of the things that I would do with my old job was, like, if I had a cane, a Dracaena, some sort of Dracaena, like say it's a Dracaena marginata or something, this big guy right back here. If I have one of those that is in an office environment already, and it's like a ways away from a window, and I have another one that was in a really dark corner where it can survive, but maybe like during COVID, I had a lot of the janitors thinking that we weren't coming in, and so they would help us by watering, and I was still coming in there, and so the plants got drowned because I'd find a note on the plant pot that said it had been watered twice that week, and I only water every 2 weeks, and so I'm like, oh shit, like that's a problem. So if I have a plant like that one back there, and I have it, and it's already in a relatively moderate light environment indoors, then I have another plant that's in the dark that's dead that I have to replace. I'm going to get a new plant that was grown down in California or in Hawaii or in Florida. It's shipped up to our warehouse, and I take that brand new plant that's used to super intense sun, and its system is geared towards that. So it's like, yeah, we're growing, let's do this. So I take that plant, and if I jam it in a dark corner, then it's like, what the heck is going on? It doesn't know what to do. Its whole biological process is really screwed up because plants in nature, they stick their roots in the ground and they don't go anywhere. And the sun really gradually shifts. Like a dim day outside is still going to be pretty bright in plant terms. Versus taking a plant from a bright sunny California day and stuffing it in a corner in an office in the Pacific Northwest. It's a huge change for them, and they're not geared for that. Their systems just aren't wired for that. So instead of doing that, I would take the brand new sunshine plant and I'd put it in the moderate light environment. And I'd take the plant from the moderate light environment and move it to the darker environment. And by kind of stepping down the light, it really helped the plants transition to those environments, because it's not a problem to take a super bright plant, like a plant that's used to really bright, intense light, and put it into a moderate light environment. It usually adapts just fine. You just have to give it some time. It's gonna use more water there than normal for a little while, just because its growth rate is ramped up. It's used to growing faster. It's used to respirating more. It's used to doing all of its processes more. Once it calms down, it'll start using less water. And then if you take that plant, you can then move it to a darker environment. So if you have a corner in your house that's super dark, and you go to like some big box store or wherever, a plant store, and you buy a brand new plant and you intend to put it in that darker corner, what you want to do first is put it kind of close to a window for a little while. That's already cutting the light that it used to receive at least in half, if not more. Put it there for like 3 months, and then move it 5 feet away from the window and leave it there for 3 months, and then put it in your darker location. You never want to just take a plant and jam it in a dark corner, because that will freak it out, because it's not used to that. And so what happens with the whole watering and growth rate, if you don't give it time to slow its growth rate, it's going to be trying to use so much water because it's used to using that. All of its processes are amped up. And so it's going to get super thirsty and drink a ton. And so either you're watering it enough to compensate for that, but then it doesn't have the light to actually use that water, or it's going to be going dry way too soon in your dark corner, and you're going to kill it from drought. And so it's kind of this, if you don't give it time to kind of like gear down, downshift a little bit before you put it in that dark corner, then it's going to go through this really weird process where it freaks out and has a huge conniption and starts throwing yellow leaves like crazy because it can't figure it out. So when your plant is doing that, it's confused. So what you want to think about is like, what did I do to confuse this plant? How can I like pull back a little bit, put it a little closer to a window for a little while, see if I can get it to come out of that confusion and say, oh, well, I don't know what the hell just happened, but okay, like this is all right. We'll be okay now. And then you get it to start, at least stopping with the crazy freak out, get it to stop the freak out, and then maybe get it to ease into a normal care routine, and then you can start shifting its environment, but you want to do it gradually. So the answer is yes. Plants will absolutely acclimate to a home environment. I have a couple hundred to prove that, and I even have a couple of plants that are up in a dark corner, which I don't recommend for anybody, but I have a bookshelf and I wanted plants on it, and that's kind of what happens. And they do get some light, but it's not very much. And so those ones I will rotate out, and they get really bright light in the summer, but I just don't expect them to grow at all in the wintertime because they're not getting the signals, they're not getting the food, life is telling them, hey, it's dark right now, just chill. And so they just chill. And so yeah, just once again, listen to your plants, be patient with your plants, and give them time because they process things so much slower because they are geared towards living for, like some trees live like thousands of years. And if your life was that long, you might be a little more considered and a little slower too. And also if you had roots in the ground, then you wouldn't be expecting to just like all of a sudden move from California to the inside of my house. That'd be weird. So we're doing weird things to them, so we have to give them some space and go real gradual with all of our transitions. So I hope that helps. If you have more questions or any specific questions about how to work with a plant or how to get it to acclimate from whatever bright environment it used to be in into a lower light environment, it can be done with a lot of plants. You just have to do it gradually, but feel free to reach out to me directly at the membership community. Once again, it's OHappyPlants. Members.ohappyplants.com is the web address, and if you just Google Oh Happy Plants, you can definitely find us on there. So yeah, thank you for the questions. This has been really fun, and I hope you have a great time with your houseplants. And good luck to everybody who has entered the drawing. That's going to be really fun to see who wins. Thanks. Bye, guys.